So we have Raul. Many of you guys know this. Raul is one of the longest users of the Race Director. So that's really awesome. And he works with over 240 events. Pretty much all in Texas, right? Like, do you have anything else?
Mostly, yeah, we have a few events.
Okay. David. So can you say David? Last name David?
Plow.
Okay. So the reason that I asked David to come is, so David may or may not be known by many people in the room. David actually times up over 300,000 participants a year. So that's why I wanted him to come, because obviously he's dealing with a lot of volume, and he's doing this in cross country. So you guys should all be very thankful that David wants that many of the participants. Otherwise, they would be your problem. So he has a lot of background in kind of in teams, especially how team databases work. And so Jenna is our international timer. She likes to find races outside of Maine during the winter. I can't really figure out why that is. So Jenna is timed. You said 150 events and 75,000 participants annually. That is a lot. And she takes a very hands-on approach with timing and works with all different types of events. We work with the girly girl parts to super high-end triathlons and everything.
Ski racing, a lot of ski racing in the winter.
Yeah. And is Carl around too, or is he doing this?
He's getting certified too.
All right. Yeah, and Carl is the ski expert. So what we're going to do is we prepared some questions here. And so what we're going to try to do is get you guys kind of engaging some. And so we have 4 basic topics. We have general business topics, race headaches, upsells, and personnel. So hopefully this will create a little bit of knowledge and kind of engagement. I'm personally kind of interested in number 1 for personnel. I think it's probably the hardest one, is how do you find and train staff for timing specifically? Yeah, I had a feeling no one wanted that one.
No, I'm good with that one too. Yeah. I think if you're around long enough, you end up with groupies. So people want to hang out. And really the athletes naturally kind of want to see how it works. And so they end up going, they start asking a lot of questions. Then they want to come out to an event, check out the back end, the inside of a race. So we get a lot of athletes that come and want to start working. And what we do is make sure they understand the overall setup and then the equipment. Whatever equipment we're using, they got to know the equipment first. And they got to know the process of the finish line, start line. And then once they got that down, if they want to score and they have the right demeanor, then we can take them to scoring level. And what that looks like is showing them race director, we use race directors, getting through a few races, then privately doing some sessions online or in person, and then finally, letting them run a race by themselves with the shadow, and then let them go. But it's a process. It's a long process.
How long do you think that would be?
Yeah, it's a good, depending on how much they want to work, it's 3 to 6 to 9 months process. Easy.
Do you guys do? I've never seen any successful. So like advertisements for an open position. Yeah, I've never seen one. I don't think anybody would apply either. So.
I've seen a few, but New York Road Runners.
We have never had anyone that isn't a runner. Everyone that's come through us has also been tech-oriented. So like Raul said, because of what we do with track and field across the country as well, we do finish links with everything we do. So there's a lot of networking involved. There's a lot of IT involved. So we're always looking for that kid, a lot of times, college age, maybe particularly, who runs and wants to come in the trailer and see the finish line picture. Because that's the person who has an interest in tech, loves running, and then it's an easier sell after that. I do hear people all the time say that how difficult it is to find people. I guess we've just been lucky.
Yeah.
We actually do have really good luck with former collegiate runners and former high school runners who want to stay involved in the business in some way. And it still does connect you with the running community. Even if you're inside the trailer, you've got time to commune with them in and out sometimes, and that's where we get them. But we've never advertised for anyone.
Yeah.
We did something, I won't say we figured it all out by any means. We still struggle with it as well. We do about 250 races a year. So we definitely need lots of staff. We put out in our newsletter that goes to our runners, just basically like a little blurb. I mean, it wasn't the whole purpose of the newsletter by any means, but we had it just in there. We got an overwhelming response. We were almost like, holy crap, how do I look at all these resumes?
Wow.
And
you're advertising like part-time, want to work at love running, want to work at a race?
Yeah, it was, CompuScore is hiring, we're looking for, we kind of did a little blurb of what we were looking for, early mornings, you need to travel, you need to lift stuff, you need to be computer literate, You
need to be used to people yelling at you.
Yeah. So, and I was inundated. And of course, I probably got close to 100 resumes. By the time you actually then explain it again, we wheedled it down, but we hired probably 5 or 6 people off of that one.
Pretty impressive.
I was shocked. I never thought that would work. The person I had preparing the newsletter was like, well, why don't we put it in there? I'm like, all right, fine. I don't think it's going to do anything, but whatever. But it really did help us.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah. Because they were all runners. They at least knew the races.
They have a basic understanding of themselves.
So that really helped us.
Mind if I ask how much you're paying?
So she asked how much we pay staff.
A timer per morning.
I'll get to that in a second. I'll answer the question, and I'll get to a little bit of a range. So we have hired staff. The most successful staff we hire is through referrals. Someone who is already on our team who knows someone, or we have some relationship with them. I have an old college friend who's timing. Carlos downstairs was referred by someone else who's working with me. I've known for 10 years. His son, his daughter. A little incestuous. They all work and to some degree score. So knowing someone or someone we've worked with, we know their strengths and we can train them into position. We look for the right people with the right attitude and then with the right technical ability and train them, and it's hard. I would have a hard time. Some of our races, like a 5K or a small running race, certainly in 6 to 9 months, but for a triathlon or a bigger race, it takes a year to 2 for someone to be able to step into a big complicated race and be able to time well. It's a huge investment. I had a timer come back who didn't want to time for a couple of years. He was building a family and come back and he called me and said, hey, I'd like to time again. I was like, best day of the summer when I could start scheduling him again, because he can just walk in, time races. The reviews I get when I follow up with my clients afterwards, stellar job. He doesn't need hand holding. I don't get calls during the race how to do something. So retainment is huge. We pay per diem for our part-time weekend staff. We pay a travel fee if they have to. We travel average 3 hours to races, but some of our travel is 5 or 6 hours driving. I'm based in Maine, and our market is more Massachusetts. So we pay a travel fee. We pay them an overnight fee if they're staying in a hotel. We pay for the hotel. We give them per diem for food, $10, $20, so $40 a day in food. And then general event staff starts in the hundreds of dollars, and our best timers are making on top of that in the $200s a day per day of timing on a weekend, plus all the extra fees. They can do pretty well on a weekend for some extra money.
What do you require your timers to do, as in packet pickup, set out timing boxes? What's their if it's different at different races?
So if we're managing packet pickup for someone, my company sends in someone to manage packet pickup, and the timing crew isn't going to worry about that. It's a separate position. The timing crew is going to focus on timing, and they're not going to split their time. So a normal running race, if it's small, just start and finish, is going to only be 2 people. They're going to set up decoders. They're going to test stuff. We do results, a custom results center at every race. So that's printing tablets with touch screens where people can walk up and set up printers. Generally gun time, chip time, or it doesn't really matter to us whether we're doing gun time and chip time, but so decoders, results center, and setting up. For small races, 2 people. At a triathlon, we're minimum of 3 people, just because of the amount of hardware, and we manage chip distribution at every race. We might use volunteers to help us, but we're not giving out a chip that we don't know is properly assigned somehow. We don't leave it up to volunteers. We don't leave it up to race directors. I have one race director that he knows that it's his risk, and if it's his mistake, it's his mistake, but it's part of our deal with him, and he's very good at it. But otherwise, chip distribution falls on us. If it impacts the time, it's our equipment. Whether it's, I wouldn't let a volunteer set up a decoder. The chip is just as integral the time. So we're setting up all that equipment, and they're responsible for getting it all working. We require them to know how to deal with IP addresses, networking locally, and to the internet WAN LAN addresses. If you can't do that stuff, figure out your LAN, figure out why things aren't connecting. It's tough to time.
Agree. That's really pretty much it. We agree. Our timers are timers. They don't. Of course we want to cross train enough that they can do everything, but primarily they're timers. You know, we're using our Pico equipment every time along with Finish Links. So we've got a Dental Links and a Finish Links camera and a network running. Sometimes that's wired, sometimes it's not. Remote stations, you know, all the bells and whistles, particularly with us because we love tech stuff. So they've got their hands full, and we don't ask them to do a whole lot more. As far as pay goes, that's pretty much about where we are. You know, we try to pay per race as well and make them independent contractors, although we have 3 full-time timers. So we're in that range too. We time a lot of people because our average cross-country meet is 4,000 or 5,000 people on a weekend. So that's how our numbers get so big. But we do in the 200 to 250 event range too.
Yeah, I mean the pay schedule, we pay by event. So 5K, 10K is a certain level. And for staff, the non-timer, its average is about $18 to $22 an hour. And then it just goes up, like if it's a half marathon or a sprint triathlon, cross-country meet, half iron, marathon, it just goes up for staff. And then it goes, our timers are in the same range, 200, 250. Yeah.
One of the things that we talked about earlier that I think would be good to kind of get the group kind of like participating on is like additional services. So I think there's a lot of different philosophies on that. Like, so some of us would prefer your price is your price. We include all of this. And then others, it's very hard because, hey, other company that's been there 20 years has a low base price, but a lot of add-on services. So it is very market dependent. It's not like necessarily your philosophy. It might be who set the market and how you have to deal with that. You know? So I just want to talk about like, you know, base pricing versus add-on pricing and kind of get you guys' opinion on that.
Yeah, I was an economics major and I try not to dive straight into the detail, like you're going to get 25 cents for this and 30 cents for that. So I like to line item database management. I'm going to take care of your database. It's going to be clean and it's, you know, $500. And then we do a per person rate for timing with a minimum, and the minimum is going to be, you know, where we are, what we're comfortable with, and I'm happy to share that if you want. But it's if you get into the nitty gritty of all the details, you're going to start losing people and confusing people, and they want to see service. So you can list out everything that's coming with those your timing, per person rate, and going back to the registration, I list out always on registration, you know, as part of our database management. It's going to stay on until the race starts. People love that. So,
do any of you guys use like there's a tool out there, it's called Proposify. I most of the time what I see is QuickBook invoices, you know, even if it's like, for like proposals. I've seen people just kind of generate like a proposal out of, you know, QuickBooks and stuff like that.
I mean, we have a bid request form on our website, and so I've thought about that during like a response. But
yeah, there is software out there. I looked into it, and it's not cheap, and it takes more work than I'm not sure if it's like whether if you just made like a template, like a nice looking one in Word, and then saved it as a PDF, it might be better.
I'm happy to answer both these. Our pricing models, we have a set base fee and then a participant fee on top of it. I rarely discount. I have this huge pet peeve. Mark talked about it. You guys talked about it. The spiraling downward cost in the industry. And so when we talk about this in this room, we're talking generally to the wrong people, right? If you're here already, you're not probably in that goal. And I'm happy to share my prices. I'm not winning events on price. We start at $3,400 for a triathlon base price. And I charge $6.50 a runner or chip ordered in advance, not what shows up from 401. So I give them 400 chips. If they have 200 people or 250 people, it's $3,400 for me to show up on race for a triathlon. And we're $1,000 for running games, and I'm $275 a runner. And if you don't want to pay it, that's fine. But I'm going to have an opportunity cost to go use that same equipment in kind of triathlon or a bigger race that'll pay those fees, and I'm going to over-deliver on service, and my return rate is 99% of my races. I rarely lose an event because we're going to over-provide. When I do a proposal, it's not price. It's pictures, it's service, it goes down through, and there is no such thing as a standard send-out proposal. You're going to email me, I'm going to get on the phone, we're going to talk about your race, we're going to find out the details, we're going to see how complicated it is, and I'm going to build a proposal that fits your race, and we're going to over-service. So this has been my full-time job. I started this as a part-time job in like 97. I started the company, officially, LLC, bought my domain name, and got my website. And in 2007, I left my full-time job, and this is how I paid my rent. So I looked at the opportunity cost of what I did with my retirement money when I sunk it into my company, and this started for me, this whole I'm not dropping my price when RaceWire came into the market.
Yeah.
Right? We're doing free timing. RaceWire gave out free timing to do registration. It ends up costing those events more than a lot of them. They paid me, they lie on their proposal. That's why I laughed. And I said RaceWire. Like, I've had race directors come to me and say, oh, it was really more than, it came to me more, they don't deliver. So delivering, I will say, is the biggest thing. So your question was about how you price. So that's what we price. We have some specific times that I will discount in specific instances. We have time frames like April and November that are slower, but I charge more on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
We have a margin, so we're going to charge more. And if it's okay to me if you don't want to pay it. And if I get to sleep in on a Sunday morning, or my crew does, because we get it, I'm okay with that. But I would rather not let the market spiral and keep my business and my margins high. It's part of the economics of business. If you don't take into account having workman's comp insurance or contractors, taxes, Social Security insurance, we pay benefits to our staff who are full-time, including it's not a 401k anymore, it's an IRA, health insurance, those things. If you don't, into really owning a business, treating your employees properly, you're not taking into all accounts your business. You may walk away with $600 or $800 if you're a part-time timer, and I don't think those are the people in this room on a weekend or on a day. But what about the cost of owning that equipment? The $50,000, $80,000, $100,000 of equipment, or $500,000 for some companies. We have close to $500,000 in equipment, probably with everything involved. That $500,000, I could have bought, a share of a McDonald's. I mean, it sounds funny or proportionate, and how much more I could have brought in. And if you're not considering the opportunity cost, rules and economics major, I took a class or two. Why didn't anybody listen? So was that. We will spiral down the industry. So I really think it's important to think about margin but over deliver. So that includes a huge suite of products. When we provide that, we'll over deliver. Now there are things that we will charge more on top of it. Live tracking, map tracking. There are some extras that we will, if we have to bring a photographer to do live photography upload to the internet or things like that, we'll charge extra for. But it includes everything soup to nuts timing. We'll build, if it impacts the time, we're going to be on it. So that includes packet building for some of our triathlons. We'll do their packet building, but we did 1,500 packs this week, so it was like a medium-sized week for 2 different triathlons. We custom print the envelopes. We're not using labels. We have an envelope printer. It prints about 70 envelopes a minute with all their information, so you don't have this little tiny packet. It's a printed envelope, and it costs me less because I don't have to pay for labels. In the end, it's better. So we do a huge amount of service for that, but the extra cost we're spending is minimal to keep our margins high.
I'm interested in the seasonal pricing structure a little bit.
Yeah, so like when I give a discount in those seasons, I do it honestly, how I pay for it in my budget is I require them to use RunSignup, and I'll make it on my commission, on my pump the commission for that race.
Well, I guess my question is more, was there a point 7 years ago that you just decided, I'm going to charge more in November? Or is your seasonal pricing structure, will you do something on specific weekends? Like, oh my God, we have 10 races on Sundays, and then last 2 that commit, we're going to charge more.
When I started this in 2007, and I didn't have a lot of money to survive because I left my full-time job, I realized that the model is unsustainable when I get all my money in August or July, August in 3 months. So I looked at my quarters, I looked at my financials, and I said, okay, how do I change this? We take 80% of our deposits by December 1st of the year before. And I promise that I won't raise my price if you get your deposit in by December 31st. We take a 50% deposit on the base price and lock in our races, and 80%. So I had 3 goals when I did this. I wanted my races to have multi-year contracts. I wanted my deposits coming in the winter, and I wanted so I had a cash flow stream. I wanted no client to be bigger than 10% of my total revenue for the year, so I could lose any client or fire them if I wanted. So I wasn't relying on any client. And at the time, I had a couple really big clients that were making a bigger part of my revenue. So I started multi-year agreements. So I lock in clients in. They know their deposits. I'm going to lock their pricing in. I'm going to provide their service, and that their deposits are due in December. A few clients said, hey, can I have it due in February? Can I do it in January? So I have money coming in year-round.
And that's a bigger deal for you because of how seasonal. You're even more seasonal than other people.
There's multi-year contracts on any event that is greater than 10% of your total revenue.
No, I don't have any client greater than 5. Well, yeah, 5. I don't have any greater than 5% anymore. But I had one client that was 40% of my year-round revenue. I had to end that because if you lose that client, you're sunk. Right. So I had to eliminate that. I wanted multi-year contracts. It's a long-term strategy. So when I sell, I have contracts locked in for 80% of my business that are multi-year, and I have a value in my company to sell it. There is
it's an MBA strategy. Is like, with RunSignup, I was doing the math. I can't imagine that we have any customer greater than 1.5% of our business. But the difference is with contracts is that we are the anti-contract.
Yeah.
But it's different with timing. Because I could compare it to like. Companies, if they're installing equipment at your place of business, you have to have a contract because there's these installation costs that they're baking into like the life of the contract. So it's very similar with timing. Like if I make commitments to buy equipment or have staff, I have to make sure that I'm going to return.
This is opportunity cost for me. Do I have enough equipment on the weekend? Do I need to reserve it? When I hold that weekend, right? If they cancel or go somewhere else, if I don't have that deposit, I'm not going to be able to rebook that weekend. Our contracts say 90 days. If they cancel within 90 days, they're paying me the full amount. Now, it gives me the option to be flexible. I'm not an ogre, right? So if I have an event that something happens, they're really small, the weather's bad, something happens, I may give them some of the money back on next year's event. Or I may say, okay, well, you're not going to, they give me the deposit in December, it's a small YMCA, it's a 150-person triathlon, and they decide not to do it this year. I'm not going to force them to pay me down the throat, but I'm not giving their deposit back. Because I've locked in that date when they make that decision. When at 60 days out, they only have 100 people and they're going to cancel the race. That was their mistake, not to profit it, but I didn't sell that weekend. I don't have an unlimited amount of capacity.
On exactly what Jenna just said about not giving back deposits, Brian actually, before I came on RunSignup, he made a point to me about that same thing and said, well, if they're going to give back all the money to all the athletes, which rarely happens in terms of cancellation, then that's when you can consider whether or not. And that's a talking point.
We asked this question. Yeah. Are you giving back the money to the participants?
Are you giving back?
No, we're keeping it. Hey.
Then I'm not giving it back.
You ordered your T-shirts. Is the T-shirt company taking the T-shirts back and giving it back?
Or are you giving them to the participants or whatever?
Yeah, all those things.
And sometimes extenuating circumstances happen.
Yeah,
bad storm, whatever.
And I can make those decisions. We might take 50% of the deposit if it's a client that has 5 other events. They decide to cancel this one, and we'll give them 50% of the deposit for that event towards next year. So the deposit comes down, and we'll be flexible, and I'll bend the rules on occasion. But there's an opportunity cost, and I think we're doing business like we're a department store, somewhere you can just return the product. But in general, we're not, and we have limited capacity, and I treat my business that way.
So I have, we've got about 10 minutes left, and I think there's they're kind of 2 questions that are semi-interrelated. So, what additional services are you having success with? And for some people, they have their own t-shirt business. For some people, they have all sorts of different types of services. And then, with that, are there any that you tried and said, that was really dumb? I should never have done that. So, obviously we want to talk about successful ones that you like or customers are asking you for, and then there's
probably some the dog sitting during the race? No, I'm just kidding. I didn't try that. I like to stay focused, and I've had offers to join people with shirts and a lot of other extra stuff. And so I like to stay race day services, which is finish line, timing. And those are easy. They're assets, and assets purchased, and every time we use them, we can charge and make some revenue there. I think, let's see, just on the extra stuff, it's just whatever flows easiest for us, and that's database management, where we need it, and also what the customers want, especially with our larger events, are obviously the live results. And we've gone through different sources for live results through time. And so what we've come to now is making an investment in our own white label with RTRT, and people love it. It's been one of the best investments for us. We can provide live tracking, app version with live tracking, app notices. So that's a big piece that we've added on this year.
Yeah. And so, I know for some of the races, there's like a real cost for, and if you don't know what RTRT is, roll and they have a website that you have to, it's not like a free service. You actually have to subscribe to it.
Definitely not free. Well,
definitely not.
It's not free to the races, to the events. If it's a one-off event, it's going to be $1 per person almost or more.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a multi-weekend triathlon. So we did the investment so we can offer it and at a lower rate for our annual races. And
for all your events?
Not all the events, the bigger events, marathons, big triathlons.
Yeah, so we have a white label MyLabs app, so specific to race day events, and we sell it out to our supported events. Just curious as to how you price it. Do you do it like a per participant and there's a minimum, or do you do it just like as a base fee, it's going to cost you X dollars?
Right. So before we were doing a setup fee for the live results, and then with this, it's similar to our timing. It's a per person rate with a minimum, and it comes out to about 1,000 person minimum at 40 cents or something like that, 50 cents per person. When the one-off races are going to pay $1 or more.
When you mean live results, you mean like live tracking, or you mean just live results on the internet on the table?
No, it's live tracking with map tracking, app notices.
It's really both.
It is both. But
Right. Yeah, they have an online version and the app version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they use it for Chicago too. I've used it for track.
we use RT for a few big events. But we do live results for every event, so you can go on the phone. There are a number of ways. Like RunSignup can offer live, just plain live results.
I would position RT to RT as like kind of the next step, like above what we're offering. They offer a very, very good product, and like it proves itself in Chicago.
Yeah, it's the premier product. They have email notifications, text messaging. They have text to follow, which is pretty awesome. Like you text a number to a phone number, and automatically get text updates for every point on that. It's a pretty neat feature. It's expensive, 20 cents a runner in a database. There's a lot of things that they offer.
Yeah.
And it's super solid.
Yeah, so another big piece that I learned a long time ago is where our results are housed. And if you started in the early 2000s, there was active and cool running, I guess. So it was active, and after a few years, I'm like, well, what if it goes away? Where are my results?
Yeah.
And it happened. So in 2006, we built mychiptime.com, which is a searchable results page. And we've got 12 years of results on there now. And so we get about 5 million page views a year. So we can put that in our contract, say, hey, your race is going to be on our calendar and your results are going to be here with all the traffic. And it's not a huge ad space. We don't do that.
You don't make anything on CPM anymore.
No, so why do it?
They cover the cost sometimes.
Yeah, why do it? It's just an extra. So it's something I think is value added for sure.
Yeah.
Back, I think to the original question, we split times are big for us for add-ons. We do sim routers so we can give live updates, as I'm sure everybody does on all that. We've also gone to a lot of LED boards for upsells. We actually automate our split pictures, run them through a little Raspberry Pi, and then broadcast them back to the screen at the finish line, which people love.
Yeah.
if they're spectating there, they can see a picture of their person at mile 6, which is pretty cool. So those are our biggest ones. As far as live results, same thing, although we're not doing any real-time tracking right now other than RaceJoy. So we're pretty much in the same boat as everybody, I think.
Yeah, so I think real-time tracking, we have events that are only real-time tracking. I don't have to score, so super low risk. We're just doing live tracking and there's no races. So big rides, we have some huge rides that just do live tracking. They're fun rides, and we're using our equipment for that. It's a market that's available. We have one we use our own website to just in a table, and you can see where they are, look up their number, and other ones that do notification with RTRT. They have huge amount of money. They want to know where everyone is when they're in and out of water stops, and RTRT is a great partner at that. They have, I think, for that, competitive rates. But then there's all the little stuff: sound systems, event management. So we do full event production and management for a few events. Database management, same as Raul. We'll do managed packet pickup. It all depends on what they want, but I go back to opportunity cost. Getting a new event is still going to be more profitable than all the little add-ons. We'll certainly say yes to every little add-on, but getting a new big event is still going to be worth my time more than all the little add-ons, for sure.
I know we're about out of time, but from my background in various businesses, and I've been timing since 2002 as well, it goes back to one of the questions that started earlier today that you talked about greatly, is we've got to not poison our own markets. And price cutting is poisoning our own market. It's a never-ending spiral down. Hold your price. Hold your price. Perform a good service. Get paid for it. There's no reason for us to keep slicing each other's throats, and I doubt that many people in this room do it. But new part-time timers do it all the time. And in the industry you see, from an economic standpoint, that is a bad game. So if you can't make what you expect off of it or what you need to make a living, then your market's in trouble. So we have to, as an industry, we have to stand firm. We have to hold our prices.
Yeah, and there's a lot of validity in that. I get emails from everybody in this room and others that'll say, "Hey, this company offers this," and "Hey, this company offers that." And quite often, it's something either we already do or we're working on, but a lot of times it's just I understand what they're doing, but I'm very confident, and if a race director says, "Well, hey, we're going to move to this other company," I wish them luck. I'm not going to deter them from trying to stay with us. All I ask for is tell me why you left. And most people are not honorable enough to do that. They don't want to tell you. They're probably just because it's, the other one was cheaper. Okay, great, whatever.
And most of the time,
yeah. And so one of the things that I want to kind of, because I'm getting the kill sign here, is I really want to thank you guys for coming up here and sharing. And the other thing from this particular end of the discussion, I think is super important. I'll tell you, RunSignup's philosophy. We get approached by people wanting to resell or make a commission off of products. We turn it down all the time. So one of the strategies, again, going back to one of the earlier discussions I had, was in terms of transparency. If you have someone that comes to you with a service that you believe is actually very good, the best thing that you can do for that service provider is introduce your customers to the best service provider in your area, and then negotiate with that service provider a discount and make it exclusive to you. So it's normally it's $100, it's $80 if you go through my company. So whatever you would have made, you pass on to the customer. Some people might try to burn you, but at the end of the day, I can tell you from people that sold T-shirts or medals or other things, you never make as much money as you think you are, and you acquire way more headaches than you ever wanted. Unless you own it yourself, and that's going to be a core part of your business, I would not do it. So thank you guys. We're going to take a couple breaks. I think we start back up at 11.
15-minute break, and we start back at 11.
Okay.